Hi, I'm Jonathan Knight, and this isn't a movie review. I'm filming with a new camera. I did two movie reviews already, a VHS one and a Victor Crowley one. The VHS one's on another channel, and the audio didn't come out right because a Windows Movie Maker, which I usually use as an editor, was screwing up the files, and I just discovered this just yesterday that was the problem. Victor Crowley episode is back up, and the audio seems to be fixed, but so I'm trying to do a practice video, and this is going to be my practice video, and I'm going to try to keep it about maybe 10 minutes. Trying to keep this a little short, so I'll be quick. So I'm going to use this video as an opportunity to introduce myself. In my channel, my name is, like I said right up front, I'm Jonathan Knight, and the reason I decided to do a B movie channel to review B movies, talk about B movies, is basically because it's what I'm very passionate about. I'm passionate about the horror genre in general. That's my favorite thing in the world. To watch is mainly an older horror movie. New horror movies, yeah, but older horror movies is my passion. But I love B movies because it all started in about 93, 94, and we were in a grocery store, me and my family, and the grocery store had a small video store in it. I mean, it's not really a video store; it was just an aisle with videotapes that you could rent. And I was looking at all the tapes, and then I went, and there was two sides to the thing, and I went around and I saw, for the first time ever, the VHS for the Toxic Avenger, and I got really excited because at that time, if people probably remember, there was a cartoon series called the Toxic Crusaders, which was based off of the movie, and when I saw the Toxic Avenger movie, I thought they made a live action movie based on the cartoon, and I got very excited and asked my mom to rent it. So she rented it, and we got it home. Soon discovered that this movie was not made for kids. Within the first 5 minutes, there's a sex scene, and then after that, there's a hit and run murder. And she quickly pushed stop on the VCR and wouldn't let me finish. Sorry, camera was screwing up. Became obsessed with that movie because they were trying to keep it away from me, and I became more obsessed with that. And then I discovered there were sequels. I think there was a one mom and pop video store that had Toxic Avenger Part 3. Didn't matter that I hadn't seen Toxic Avenger Part 2, but I had to see Toxic Avenger Part 3. And if you know Toxic Avenger Part 3, the cover has the Toxic Avenger fighting with a green skin, version of the devil. But I became obsessed after that. When I grew up, I would pretty much grab any videotape that would seem out of the ordinary. I would have rent like newer horror movies, the new releases, but if it had a really great cover art, because anybody who collects VHS knows that VHS had the best covers, especially compared to the shit that we get on DVD and Blu-ray, which is just garbage for the most part. Not the movies, but the cover art are garbage. I would rent it based on that. I first saw Chopping Mall, which, if you've seen the VHS cover for Chopping Mall, the Blu-ray, I believe, is the same cover. It's like a robotic hand holding a bag of body parts. And I remember, I had to see that. And then on, Waxwork, I would rent Waxwork, Chopping Mall, a lot of the Trauma stuff the video store had, which was Toxic Avenger 1. And at this video store, they had 1, 2, Surf Nazis Must Die, and Redneck Zombies. Redneck Zombies is the first time I saw a shot-on-video movie, and if you don't know what shot-on-video is, it basically looks like a home movie from the 80s with really cheap effects, a lot of blood, but I find them very entertaining because they have that endearing, charming quality. Oh, look, this, anybody could make a movie in the 80s and get it in a video store, and I thought that was just so cool. You just could film anything as long as it was a certain length, and they put a cover out, and you'd have a movie in the store. Video violence is an example of that. Video violence is incredible. I mean, I know there's somebody out there going, really incredible, but I find it so entertaining. I have I got my Crypt Keeper shirt on it, but I have a Video Violence shirt, and I actually went out of my way to get this t-shirt because how much I love video violence. And if you've never seen video, own a video store, or manage a video store, and one day they find a video in there of a real murder, and they go to the police don't believe them, the tape ends up disappearing, and you find out quickly that the entire town have do this thing where they will murder people live on camera, put the video in the video store for the other people to rent and watch. And of course, these two managers at the video store are kind of stuck in the middle trying to escape this madness. A very unique and weird, violent shit 2 and 3. I'm not a fan of violent shit 1 that much, but I love violent shit 2 and 3. I'm looking over at my DVD shelf to make sure, because I have my memory. I'm doing this unscripted. Slumber Party Massacre 1, 2, and 3. That's a lot of stuff that I saw as a kid and teenager that I rented from the video store, because video stores would have movies like that. Because those movies are always high renters because of their cover art and cover art. You know, if anyone who's seen those, the cover art is just some half-naked girls with a guy with a drill between his legs coming after him. It grabs you. The cover art grabs you because you're like, oh my god, can this movie live up to this piece of VHS art? And it does. Not video violence. Slumber Party Massacre does live up to its hype. But you know, that's why I started getting to B movies. And Toxic Avenger, watching that as a kid, and then renting all these movies in the video store, and it just really saddens me that we really don't have video stores anymore. Redbox don't count. Plus, Redbox only has new movies. Watch these movies, or at least, you know, watch them without buying them, really is downloading them, and that's sad. There is video stores out there, especially ones that deal in VHS, but they are nowhere near me. So I don't know. My dream is to open a video store. I don't know if it would do well because people want new movies. People just don't want old movies. And whenever when I was a teenager, my video store you can rent 5 VHS movies for $5 for 5 nights. So I would always go and I would get horror and comedy mainly, so older comedies. And I would rent them, and I would watch them I would get them on the weekend, and I watch all 5 of them that weekend. And the guy, I remember the video store people told me that people don't usually do that. People only want the new stuff. And you know something? I'd rather watch an old movie that I've never seen than watch a new movie I've never seen, because 9 times out of 10, the old movie's actually going to entertain me. Well, the new one is just going to be the same old shit. You know, a lot of CGI, a lot of special effects work. I mean, I love superhero movies, especially today. I love some of them, but I'm kind of getting bored of it. You know, when I was a kid, we didn't have that many superhero movies. Now we have so many that it's kind of getting boring. You know, and I'm kind of getting tired of it. So I go and try to find older movies to watch. That way I can expand my knowledge of B-movie, not just B-movie cinema, but horror movies in general. Because there are so many horror movies from the 80s that I definitely haven't seen yet. And I know that there's some that people haven't either that need to be discovered. Just recently, a movie it was a 1990s movie, but filmed in the 80s, called Demon Wind, which just got a special edition DVD and Blu-ray release last year, and that made me so happy because that means more people are going to get the chance to watch that movie. That movie is one of my top 10 B movies of all time. It's basically an Evil Dead knockoff, but with demons. Or Evil Dead is demons, but it's an Evil Dead knockoff, but a really good Evil Dead knockoff. And you know, that's a movie I saw as a kid on VHS. So you know, a lot of these are getting re-released by all these really good companies that are doing a great job restoring them, making the picture quality look better than ever. Because even some of these movies, the VHS is hard to get up because VHS collecting has made it where certain tapes are more expensive than, in my opinion, they should be. like $100 tapes, $60 tapes. I mean, I find that ridiculous. That's why I like to go to flea markets and thrift stores and hunt. But usually I can't find stuff like that. I just find the more mainstream stuff, and I pick up certain ones because I'm like I said, a huge movie fan, so I just pick up whatever I can up. But you can never, I rarely have found any horror movies in the last probably 4 years. These places, because I guess some people just don't, give them away or sell them. They just keep them. But I'm kind of rambling on a bit. Like I said, this is a test video, so it don't really matter. And I'm kind of going off of different subjects. It's 10 minutes in, but fuck it, I'm gonna talk for a few more minutes. But yeah, that's the main reason I started this channel, is I really wanted to talk about B movies, because most of the time when I talk to people about movies, a lot of people on like in real life and all that, not my friends, but other people, they only talk about the movies that are popular and new and popular. Film school back in 2005, and I did a tour of the film school tour. They took us and a bunch of other people to show us the school and all that. And a lot of the kids there, the only thing they were having conversations was about, like, The Godfather, Citizen Kane, basically the classics. And I just don't find that interesting. I don't find discussing The Godfather interesting whatsoever. It's a good movie, a very good movie, but it's just it's had its dick sucked so many times that it's just become old. And I'd rather talk about something that's more interesting, like Death Wish 3, which I find like a masterpiece of cartoon action cinema. I mean cartoon, I mean over the top. It's not actually a cartoon, but like I find that to be a masterpiece. Some people are like, that's not a masterpiece, and then they'll say this is a masterpiece. I find Death Wish 3 a masterpiece because it does what I want to do. It entertains me from the very first minute to the very last minute of the movie, and that's why I love it. And I love the Cannon Group in general. Cannon Group, Troma, Full Moon during the Paramount years, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, good, like, I'm not even gonna say 10 years. It's gonna probably 8-year gap where their movies are being funded and distributed by Paramount Pictures. Paramount end up, going the separate ways, and the Full Moon movies end up becoming really cheaper and not nearly as good. There is some good Full Moon movies that came after they left Paramount, but not in comparison to the movies they actually made with Paramount. They had some really awesome B-movie classics. The Puppet Master franchise, the first 5, Demonic Toys, Doll Man, the Subspecies movies, Trancers. I think they did Trancers in them years. Did Trancers 2, 3, 4, and 5, but Trancers 2 and 3 are really entertaining. I highly recommend the Troma, a lot of the Troma stuff that they made. There is some really good ones they didn't make. And that list is probably a lot longer because they've really released a lot of movies. But like the Troma stuff, like Toxic Avenger, or Toxic Avenger 1, 2, and 3 and 4. I'm gonna put 1, 2, 3, and 4 in there. Troma's War, Class of Nuke 'Em High, Sergeant Kabuki Man, Tromeo and Juliet, Terra Firma, I already said Citizen Toxie, Poltergeist, and of course the new Return of Nuke 'Em High Volume 1, and whenever it's released, Volume 2. Yeah, a lot of the Roger Corman stuff from like the 50s and 60s to not necessarily now. He produces a lot of like CGI, like monster stuff, which I'm not into, but a lot of his early stuff, like Humanoids, not his early stuff, early stuff like he directed, like his Vincent Price movies that he did, Bucket of Blood, The Man with the X-Ray Eyes, a lot of stuff he produced, like Humanoids from the Deep, the original Piranha, Battle Beyond the Stars. That's an awesome Star Wars knockoff. Incredible effects for low budget movie. A lot of that stuff I recommend. Of course, I recommend a lot of Jim Wynorski stuff like Chopping Mall and Deathstalker 2 is really entertaining. The Fred Olen Ray stuff, David Ducado, just butchered his name, David Ducado. I'm really butchering his name, like Nightmare Sisters, Schwarty Babes, and the Slimeball Bolorama. That's really entertaining. Stuff like that. And then, of course, Roger Corman also, even though he's not credited on the movie, produced the Slumber Party Massacre movies, which I highly recommend all 3 of them. The first one, in my opinion, is a slasher classic. Part 2 is one of my favorite slasher comedies. You know, a lot of movies in the late 80s, they started producing a lot of slasher movies that were, you know, comedic. And then Slumber Party Massacre 2, which is actually pretty dark, especially compared to the first. The first one had humor and it had a sense of humor. The second one was really goofy, but it had that movie had a lot of subtext in it. And it was actually a pretty deep movie when you look at it. But main thing people remember out of the second one is the guy in the leather jacket singing with the drill guitar, a guitar with the drill on it. But part 3 is really dark. It has some really dark themes in it. It still has the cheese, but it feels much more mature and darker than 1 and 2. I would say it's probably my least favorite. I think it's the least entertaining of the 3. I still really like it because it's for one, it's an interesting movie. You know, interesting. You know, the direction it ends up taking is pretty interesting, and it's different from the first 2. The thing is, the second one's different from the first movie, and the third one's definitely different from the first 2. I will add that the second movie is connected to the first movie by story and characters, while the third movie is an independent movie. It's its own self story, so it doesn't share anything except for the title with the first 2 movies. But it still had a killer with a drill. I mean, that's the thing through all 3 movies. The killer kills somebody with a drill, and it's always very gory. I just rewatched the second one last night, and it's so entertaining. Not for everybody, but it's definitely for me. But a lot of that stuff, you know, and there's a lot of, there's some B movie stuff today, but the problem with a lot of stuff today is there's way too much of a focus on CGI, and I just don't think CGI, especially when you're working with a low budget, CGI does not look good. I mean, even though I really liked the movie because it had a lot of heart and it was, you know, a lot of heart and it was actually pretty emotional towards the end of it. The last Phantasm movie that came out in 2016, they had a very, very, very low budget and there's things they had to do with CGI, and the CGI for most of the time did not look good in that movie at all. There's some shots that are pretty good for its budget, but a lot of the CGI looked bad in that movie. But the movie gets a pass from me because they put a lot of heart. They put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into that movie, and you could tell just watching it. So if you haven't seen the new Phantasm, just lower your expectations, then go in and watch it. Because I went in with my expectations were really careful for it the first time. Then I rewatched it. I think I watched it 4 times now, and I've really grown to really like it. It's a very, very, very well done for its budget story. The first 30 minutes are kind of a mess, but after that, it flows pretty well after that. Now I'm just randomly talking, but that is my mess of a B movie story. That's what the video is going to be called, my B movie story. I could talk forever. Like I said, Cannon Group, Troma, Roger Corman, Paramount era, Full Moon, them are my favorite kind of B movie stuff. Pretty much those are the things that dominated the several decades of film. And Troma and Full Moon are still around. Troma is still great in my opinion. I think Return to Nukem High Volume 1 is one of their best movies, but it's incomplete because it's only one first part of a movie. But I think a lot of the Full Moon stuff today is really awful. The Evil Bong movies, I thought the first 2 were funny, but after like the 700th one, it's just not funny anymore. The green screen and CGI in it's terrible. I thought Killjoy 3 and Killjoy Goes to Hell were fantastic, but I thought Killjoy Psycho Circus was a huge disappointment. So Full Moon I really don't recommend checking out these days. But if you do, I recommend Killjoy 3 and Killjoy Goes to Hell. Because both of those are entertaining. And maybe Evil Bong 1 and 2, but I say maybe because I don't think a lot of people like those ones, so I'd say maybe. And Ginger Dead Man 2. Ginger Man Dead 3 is fun, but Ginger Dead Man 2 is, in my opinion, the much better film because it's very clever. It pokes fun at the low-budget film industry. Basically, the people who made it makes fun of them, and it's very clever and funny. Number 3 suffers from some really bad CGI that kind of distracts you from the amusing time travel story. But yeah, well, that's gonna be it because this video is almost 20 minutes and I kind of ramble on a little bit too long. But this is basically a practice video. You don't have to. I'm gonna put it on my group. You know, if you want to watch it, watch it. If you don't, you don't. That's awesome. Just I want to make sure the audio is fine on it. But I'm Jonathan Knight, and this has been my B-movie story, which is really a big mess. But if you watched the entire thing, you are a trooper. So big thumbs up for me. I'm Jonathan Knight, and this is B-Movie Madness. Thanks for watching.